Just like many Americans easily find themselves in debt, our nation finds itself in the same boat, only on a much larger scale. As of this moment, there are massive problems with deficits, federal spending, and the national debt. One thing is for sure, the federal government is out of control. Both sides of the aisle have given their solutions to fix these problems. Everything from raising taxes, to cutting spending, to paying off the national debt, to adding a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Can any of these fix the problem? How did we even end up in this mess? Back in 1787, America became a constitutional republic, which meant the power of the government was strictly limited by the Constitution. In terms of spending, Congress was only allowed to spend money for the activities authorized in Article 1, Section 8. Looking at America's history, the nation has generally had some amount of debt. This is especially evident when considering times of war. Take a look at the Revolutionary War, and then every war thereafter. The major differences between the first 180 years and now is that back then, America was able to pay down its debt after each war instead of letting it rise out of control. This isn't the only thing that has changed. Early on, under the new Constitution, states were thought to hold the upper hand because their responsibilities were numerous and indefinite, while the federal responsibilities were few and defined. However, by the Civil War, the federal government began establishing dominance over the states. Next came the Progressive Era of the early 20th century. It was a time of social and political turmoil that changed the way many viewed how government worked in conjunction with the Constitution. This shift in thinking allowed for major change, such as the creation of the Federal Reserve, the 17th Amendment for the direct election of senators, the open primary, even the 16th Amendment, which allowed for the progressive income tax. Changes such as these only serve to further empower the federal government. By the time the Great Depression hit, the stage was set for America to accept Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his New Deal. What would follow in FDR's first 100 days of office would be the acceleration of government spending through the creation of many unconstitutional government programs. This would continue for the next 12 years. By the end of his presidency, FDR had overseen the creation of a vast number of federal departments, agencies, and programs, which allowed for the largest bureaucracy growth in U.S. history. Although some of these programs shrunk in size or completely dissolved, others expanded, imposing an even larger burden on the country. From then on, the desire to create new, unconstitutional programs and grow big government continued. What came hand in hand with most of these programs was the involvement of special interest groups, who created large blocks of like-minded voters by rewarding them with federal money. Special interest groups try to influence people within the government in order to help a particular business, cause, industry, and so forth. Today, special interests work closely with members of Congress and the administration to draft legislation and policy initiatives. They are also known for their significant contributions to political campaigns, as well as their influence on the mainstream media for favorable coverage. What America is witnessing is a vicious cycle. First, special interest groups lobby government for preferential treatment for the people in their voting blocks. As these people benefit from these programs, they begin to rely on them. Since they're relied on, when opponents of these programs attempt to cut back spending for them, they can't succeed in Congress because they are up against so many voters. What happens is not a scale back, but a continued increase in unconstitutional government spending. This leads to bigger government and more problems. Now here we are today, stuck in a massive financial crisis. There are some, however, that claim that a balanced budget amendment Article 5 convention is all that is needed to restore and take back our nation. Unfortunately, this fiscal crisis we're dealing with cannot be fixed by a balanced budget amendment. And here's why. First, it would serve to legitimize the current unconstitutional spending programs by focusing attention on whether a certain program will fit within a balanced budget and not on whether that program is constitutional. Second, loopholes would allow Congress to still not balance the budget. For instance, there are usually escape clauses that enable Congress to continue overspending in times of national emergencies or by means of a supermajority vote, which normally requires a 2/3 or 3/5 majority. However, the bigger problem with the balanced budget amendment is how it is being proposed. Currently, state legislatures are submitting applications to Congress for calling a BBA Article 5 convention. This can be very risky for our Constitution because such a convention holds the inherent power to become a runaway convention. This is based on the precedent of the Constitutional Convention of 1787 and the right of the people, as stated in the Declaration of Independence, to alter or abolish their government. Remember, elected representatives within our government already hold the power to balance the budget. If Congress would only abide by the Constitution, it could immediately begin to restore good government and fiscal sanity. If Americans want to dig themselves out of this financial disaster, we need to make some serious changes that not everyone will like. As a first step, we need to audit the Federal Reserve. With that knowledge, we can move towards ending inflation by phasing out the Fed and restoring sound money. Next, we need to cut the fat, which means eliminating or phasing out all unconstitutional spending in both the mandatory and discretionary portions of the budget. The major entitlement programs such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment compensation, and food stamps are considered to be mandatory spending, while the rest of the federal programs are considered discretionary. We also need to repeal unconstitutional treaties that not only force us to waste money, but that also go against the very will of the people. In order to accomplish all of this, we need to elect constitutionally minded politicians that will make this happen. Now that you know, a balanced budget amendment Article 5 convention is not the answer. It's time to get to work. Contact your state legislators and urge them to stop the approval of all state applications to Congress for a BBA Article 5 convention. If your state has already approved such an application, go on the offense by working with your state legislators to rescind all previously approved applications for a BBA Article 5 convention, as well as all other types of applications for an Article 5 convention. Next, inform others about the role of the Constitution in our system of government. An informed electorate will not only solve the problems of today, but ensure that only constitutionalists are elected tomorrow. It is time to create an informed electorate so that Congress and state legislatures will enforce the Constitution, not change it.